Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kim with K Montes Art Studio, and it's been a while. I have a fun video for you today. Today we're going to be doing some sketchbooking and coming up with an idea for a mural that I will be painting in my baby's room. So to start, I'm using my Hanamulla sketchbook, my Blackwing matte pencil. I'm using my Daniel Smith watercolor pan and my Princeton Neptune brushes with two or maybe one other different brush that I don't really know. And so to start off with a sketch, I drew inspiration from an image that I actually saw at Michael's. And I love the way that this image had some sort of an atmospheric feeling. A lot of the colors were sort of muted and very dull, but very vibrant at the same time. So they did a really good job at including subtle muted colors and having some vibrancy in it as well. So at this point, I referenced the photo, and I knew that I didn't want this to be the mural inspiration, but I needed to find a way to loosen up and warm up. So I thought it would be a great image to put in my sketchbook and have it just live there, since I'm not selling it and I'm not reproducing it for sale in any type of way. I'm able to use this as a reference, and I unfortunately don't know the artist, but I know that they seem to be licensed with Michaels, and I was able to use this image that I took while at the store to just practice creating this atmosphere, because I think that's what I was really going for, more so than the image itself. I mean, the image itself is beautiful, but I was really striving to practice the atmosphere and the colors that they were able to acquire. So to start with this watercolor palette, this is more of my natural landscape watercolor palette that I put together myself, all Daniel Smith watercolor paints. And the first color that I'm starting with is this green that is very dark and moody. And I really love the way that it creates sort of an underlay of a shadow. And this color is called Undersea Green, and I really love this color combined with some yellows. This palette in particular actually creates the perfect moody palette that allows you to have not super hyper realistic colors, but also not super vibrant colors. And as you all know, I love having really vibrant colors in my paintings, like the opera pinks, the bright yellows, the bright blues, all the bright greens. But for this, I really need to practice how to tone down some of my colors and some of my palettes. So if you're wondering what colors I have in this pan, to start off at the top left, I have Hansa Yellow Deep, Nickel Azo Yellow, Yellow Ochre, Burnt Umber, Buff Titanium, Quinacridone Purple, Raw Sienna. In the bottom row, I have Ultramarine Blue, French Ultramarine, which I honestly think are the exact same colors, but sometimes they mix differently with like whites and yellows, so I thought it was important to have that. And then we have our Undersea Green, Cascade Green, our neutral tint, which is a nice sort of gray blue black. And then we have our two reds, Deep Scarlet and Parallel Scarlet, which also resemble each other in some way when you lay them down, but again, they mix differently with other colors. So while painting, I was feeling a bit of fatigue and having so much similarities in the colors. And this was something that I am not really used to, in having so many of the same types of greens, of the same types of browns, and like very muted. So I think I was struggling trying to create contrast, which is why I paint so vibrant in my other styles of painting. So I did end up having to take a break, and I also got my manager to critique me. Like it? No. I think that's a no, guys. I'm not drawing that. So my manager's back at work. He's been away for a while, mainly because I have been away for a while. But he's back in action, judging me to the fullest. As you saw, he was smelling the page and questioned what abilities I have. And I just don't even care about his judgment. He insisted that I paint his puppuccino that he loves to play with, and I told him I will not be painting that at this moment. So I had to move forward with this painting. After taking a break and coming back, I think I came back the next day actually. It was very refreshing to see where I can add details. Also, when you're working with watercolor, the colors tend to dry much lighter than they go on the paper. So it does give you a false illusion that something is darker than it is. And then when you give it some time to dry or give your eyes some rest, things look completely different. So if you take it back just a couple seconds before my manager reviewed it, you can see how vibrant it looked, and now it looks a little dull. So going back in with some washes and some touch-ups with certain colors will help to make the colors stand out, and also going back in with some detail. So I'm going in with some marks, trying to decide what kind of marks I want to make, right? Because again, I want to do this mural on my wall, which will most likely be a mural painted with acrylic. So that's going to be my next step, is practicing with acrylic, possibly on paper or canvas. I'm not sure yet, to test out how I can make this atmospheric look with acrylic, because acrylic is much more saturated, harder to dilute, but it's definitely possible to create this look with acrylic. So to get into some inspiration that I was drawing from, I looked at the 100 Acre Woods, or the 100 Acre Woods from Winnie the Pooh. I love that scene, and just the way that book and those original cartoons were painted. I also was inspired by just landscapes per usual. I love my landscapes, but much more of a muted color, as I mentioned before. It's also a sneak peek of what the baby's name is going to be, and I'll tell you that in the next video, and I'll give you some more details. But just to give you a clue, it does relate back to nature. So I think keeping things in the green and yellow and the neutral tones is what me and my wife were aspiring to go for this particular theme for the nursery. And it also makes sense because we love nature. I love trees, mountains, and just the colors are so soothing. So I think this little practice helped me to continue to get out of art ruts that I've been in and just gaining some energy. I really would like to continue to practice daily. So far, I've been able to do a couple paintings a week, maybe 2 or 3. But I am going to be starting a new challenge with another YouTuber who presented the challenge. Her name is Leslie Strauss. I believe I'm saying her name correctly. So she's presenting a challenge called 100 Tiny Paintings. And I think it's a perfect opportunity not only for me to practice my atmospheric paintings, I also get to practice watercolor. I do get to teach watercolor next term to my students again, so this is a perfect practice for that. I also get to sharpen my skills and really play around with different colors. So I'm probably going to do a variety of things with that challenge, and I'm super excited about where it will take me. I know challenges are often good for showing how much you've grown throughout the process of the challenge. I know with challenges before, especially like 30-day challenges, they have been harder for me to complete. But I think this specific challenge is a little bit more manageable for me. I calculated 2 paintings a week, and these paintings are going to be tiny, so definitely doable. And I'm hoping to get things done 1 hour per painting, probably less, depending on how detailed they are. So stay tuned for that video. And I have a couple other things planned out for different artwork that I want to make for my baby room. I know I mentioned that this is not going to be a baby YouTube page or anything like that, but because I am an artist and I am in the process of decorating my nursery, I have so many art ideas for my baby room, and those are going to be the next few videos. So I'll try to limit the baby talk for some of the parts of the videos, but it is what I'm currently dealing with right now, so I'm super excited about it. So getting into the details, I realized that this one specific palette wasn't cutting it for me with the greens. A lot of the greens were a bit too muted and I needed something more vibrant. So in this palette, you can see that I have a nice Hansa yellow light, which is very different from the Hansa yellow deep. And it helps to create much more vibrant greens. I made that green that you see down on the tin with the green appetite genuine. I never know how to say that, but I needed a little bit of some brightness to this, just a subtle show of like sun and brightness. So I just dabbed a couple portions in those 2 colors, and I was able to create the illusion of like the dappled sun that was coming through on this portion, adding a couple bits of detail and just moving along. As I started to get into the nitty-gritty of the details, I started to feel a little bit more confident in the painting style. I think I do need a couple more practice rounds with this painting style. Atmosphere is really hard, and it's something that I personally need to practice because it is one of the lessons that I have to teach when I teach my watercolor lessons in one of my classes. I think it's something that takes practice, and depending on what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to gain focus on, it can really deter you, and it can also distract from the painting. I think the main focus in the original painting was that curvy tree that's in the front, and I don't think I accomplished the atmosphere with that tree as well as I did with the 4 trees in the middle ground. The main focus in my painting is obviously the 4 trees in the middle ground, with the curvy tree sort of engulfing and wrapping around. So in my painting, I created a different focal point unintentionally. I was trying to acquire that darkness that they had in their painting, but I wanted to be a little bit different. So finding your own style, your own language, I could obviously copy word for word or picture for picture what they had in that particular painting, but painting, when I'm referencing another photo, I try my hardest to have one element that is my own, and that element was bringing in my original style. I'm actually pretty good at replicating. It was one of my favorite things to do when I was in art school, and replicating things to the T is quite easy for me, but I try to avoid doing that when I'm representing an artist that I don't know, or am trying to learn from some of their techniques. Replicating masters like famous other artists is fine, but this particular artist I didn't know, and I didn't want to take advantage. So I hope you enjoy this little sketchbook paint with me. This was super fun. I'm still practicing, and I love this atmospheric feeling. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.